What's good, YouTube? I'm making this video because I wanted to talk about one of my favorite shonen series that I watched recently, Tokyo Revengers. I'd like to one day make a more in-depth video talking about the series, but that will be for a later date. For today, this is a mostly spoiler-free video talking about my feelings toward the series. I first became aware of the series in April 2021 during the spring season of anime that was airing. I took a look at the synopsis and nothing immediately interested me or really popped out. The premise and art both seemed pretty basic at a glance, so I was content letting this one slip by, especially because I was dealing with a lot of heavy shit during this period in my life. Ironically, though, that's exactly part of the reason I regret not checking out the show sooner. When I finally checked out the show for the first time, it was right as we were entering 2022, and it's been a long time since I was hooked this hard into a new series. For the past couple years, getting into new series almost felt like a chore, and I was largely content with just catching up with new seasons of manga chapters and shows I was already well invested in. Long gone were the days of finding a new series that had me losing sleep and directly affecting my lifestyle. Or so I thought until I checked out Tokyo Revengers and watched over a dozen episodes in a single night, staying up until the wee hours in the morning and almost contemplating calling out of work just to finish the season. After all, it was hard to get any sleep or focus on anything with so many cliffhangers and plot threads hanging around rent-free in my mind. Of course, I did go into work that day, but immediately upon coming home, I finished the season, praying as hard as I could that the anime would leave off on a good enough note that I would feel content to leave it be for a bit. Alas, this was simply not the case, and the end of Season 1 does leave off on yet another cliffhanger. So the next day I immediately dove headfirst into the manga, starting from Chapter 1 just in case there were any major differences, and continued my journey with the series. In the span of a few days, I read over 200 chapters and stopped myself right before the current arc. This is now my resting point as I attempt to force myself not to read anymore, as the current arc is allegedly the final arc, and I'm trying to hold out until it's announced that it's almost over. But unfortunately, both the quality of the story and my fear of encountering spoilers leave me vulnerable to the reality that I will inevitably cave and knock out the few chapters I have remaining. Regardless, it goes without saying, I love this fucking series, as I went from a non-fan to a die-hard fan in the span of a week. To give a quick synopsis, the series revolves around our main character, Takemichi, whose life peaked 12 years ago in middle school. He lives a fairly complacent life and lacks a lot of confidence. While watching the news, he notices that his ex-girlfriend from middle school died in an incident involving the Tokyo Manji gang. While out on a walk near the train station, someone pushes him onto the tracks of a moving train, but before he dies, he travels back 12 years ago and gets the opportunity to live a more fulfilling life and save his ex-girlfriend's life. I do want to address one of the common complaints I see online when people discuss this series, and that has to do with the animation. I want to state my own opinion and confess that I don't think the animation here is top quality, but I also don't think it's bad. I'm under the impression the reason so many people are complaining about the show's animation quality is that nowadays we're used to very high quality animation, especially from popular shows like Demon Slayer or Attack on Titan. Tokyo Revengers quality feels more average. I would probably compare most of it to a shonen anime that aired in the mid to late 2000s. I do hope we manage to have higher quality animation for Season 2, but I just want to stress that the animation quality we've had so far is fine and not something to hold against the series unless you have extremely high standards for animation quality. The reason I feel the series is so good is that the characters and world are set up very nicely. Get a strong feel for what each character believes and represents in the story. A lot of them are very strong and likable characters, with flaws that really help give them room for personal arcs and character growth, which are some of my favorite parts of good writing. My personal favorite characters in Season 1 ended up being Draken and Baji. I tend to really enjoy gang series, so I'm not too surprised that I enjoyed it so much. However, like most gang series, the series can be very heavy though, so just a fair warning to prepare for that. I cried several times while watching the series, and for me personally, sometimes heavy series really help me identify and cope with some of my personal life issues by relating through what the characters go through, and ultimately that's why I wish I had watched this sooner, because this really helped me reflect on some life issues and want to better myself. As mentioned earlier, I definitely have plans to feature the series on this channel more in the future, but for now that'll probably wait until the manga concludes. For now, I just wanted to talk briefly about it and voice my opinion. If you haven't checked out the series yet and are looking for a recommendation for what to check out next, I highly recommend both the anime and manga as your next series to check out. This has been Anime Bar Lounge. Thanks for watching.